Welcome back to In Focus. It would appear that our world economy overall is just slowing down. That's not my own personal evaluation. It's just a simple fact. Take China, for example. China has recently been suffering from a fall in economic growth, partially to blame on COVID, but it mostly falls on their leaders for their poorly run government, the CCP. China has recently found itself in a drought as well as needing infrastructure improvement and dealing with power shortages. In response, China's cabinet on Wednesday announced 19 new measures to help themselves, amounting to more than $146 billion. So their solution is to just throw the money at it, throw billions of dollars at it and fix everything. Sounds like Joe Biden might have given China a little bit of economic advice. It's not just China, by the way. Germany is now in an economic decline, according to recent business data. Fears of a possible recession are taking economists by storm. The IFO Institute Index is seeing the worst declines in the retail sector, which is to blame on their high inflation. A lot to break down here. Joining me now to discuss is host of Watchdog on Wall Street radio show and president of Markowski Investments, Chris Markowski. Chris, thank you for joining me. Let's start with China. The industrial production that fell short in the month of July. China's experiencing a housing sector crisis right now. What do you make of all of this? I know you had a lot to say about it on your show this week.
Well, it's central planning kind of run amok. That's the reality. It's just that you try to control too much out of one area, and it never works out. And you're constantly having to deal with some unintended consequence here, there, or anywhere. Their housing situation it's a mess. It actually, you take a look at the other size of it. It's much bigger than what we were dealing with during the Great Recession. And again, their solution right now is to throw money at it because Xi Jinping is up this fall. Some sign that maybe China's starting to see some sort of light opening up to some degree. Today, they announced that they're going to allow U.S. auditors to go to Hong Kong and take a look at their companies, the ones that are listed in the United States, because there was fear of actually having them kicked off the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. It's that old situation. You know, China, they always call it a communist country. It's not really a communist country. You don't have Ferrari dealerships in communist countries, but it's a command and control economy. It's just basically the same thing in many respects.
And let's talk about Germany as well. I came across an article that was very interesting. This is from the Epoch Times. A German official suggests people use washcloths instead of taking showers to help save electricity. I would say if you get to that point, you're not doing great, Chris. Using a washcloth instead of just hopping in the shower, you got a pretty big problem on your hands.
Yeah, this is home to Mercedes-Benz and BMW, and this is what they have to resort to at this point in time. I actually looked up the energy price, electric prices today. Germany, it's about $600 per megawatt hour. Before 2020, anywhere between $75 to $100 was considered expensive.
Wow.
They're getting to a point in time in Europe where places like Germany are going to have almost some kind of perverse Sophie's choice when it comes to what businesses are going to be able to stay open and which ones are going to be closed. Emmanuel Macron in France was talking, basically gave a Jimmy Carter-esque malaise speech, talking about the era of abundance is over. And again, it's the way that they sound. It's like winter is coming. It's Game of Thrones type scare stuff. They're in a really, really dire situation. And this is what happens when you put your energy policy in charge of an angry young teenager named Greta.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg definitely has not had the best impact on the country. You know, it's always baffled me, Chris, as to why we started taking advice on the environment and around green energy from this little teenager. I get the appeal to emotion. Oh, it's a little kid. She's worried. Think about the world we're going to leave behind on her. But politicians, elected officials, actually listened to her and took her advice. They actually, adopted policy based off what this little Swedish girl was saying. I mean, it's absurd. It's a laughingstock.
Again, this is what people voted for. Elections have consequences. There was a story here in the United States saying upwards of 20 million people are behind on their electric bills here in the States. That's enormously problematic. And again, this is all stuff that we've ended up doing to ourselves. It's all well and good. You want to get to this, zero carbon, green energy future. We're just not there yet. We don't have the materials. The technology's not available yet. Until we get to that point in time, we might want to keep the natural gas flowing. Just saying.
Yeah, well, and they're trying here in America, they're trying to speed up that process, that transition to green energy as quickly as possible. California is unfortunately one of the pioneers, and I say unfortunately because I am in California as we speak. The California Air Resources Board voted on a measure Thursday afternoon, or will vote on a measure this Thursday to ban the sale of electric cars, of gas cars rather, by 2035. They want to ban gas cars, prevent you from selling them by 2035, Chris. I don't think that that's going to bode well here in California. I don't think that'll play out how they hope.
If you're going to say something like this, you've got to come up with some way to get to that point in time. Again, we don't have enough rare earth minerals. It takes forever and 10 days to get a mine approved, not to mention all of the environmental concerns with regards to mining some of these things. There's a myriad of different things that need to be dealt with. And these politicians, in order to pat themselves on the back and look at themselves as progressive and whatnot, this King Canute, I do declare, I do decree, like they can make the seas go back. I can make all of this happen. Well, okay, fine. If you think that's the case, show us how we're going to get there. And they just can't do it.
And how do you think they've gotten away with it for so long? They've gotten away with this rhetoric, making these grandiose claims with no evidence to support it and no feasible solutions for how we're going to run the entire country of America on windmills and solar panels. They talk about how we need to transition to that or else we're all going to die and the earth's going to burn up because the sun monster's coming for us. But they don't show us any evidence of how we're going to even make that possible. So how do they keep getting away with this, Chris? Are some people just that dumb that they buy into it, or is it just masterful language coming from these people?
Yes, it's the greatest Jedi mind trick of all time. I think these politicians are constantly pulling this on people. Again, I think people oftentimes vote based upon emotion rather than any sort of thought process. You might want to think about these things. Again, you can call every capital, whether it be Washington, D.C. or any state capital, they're like grand cathedrals of unintended consequences. People putting out all of these things, but no plan from getting from point A to point B.
Yeah, I think that couldn't have said it better myself. Chris Markowski from Markowski Investments. Always great to have your insight on the program. I appreciate it.
Thank you.